Okay, we're up to number 6 of the 6 roadblocks. This is the exit. Now, why is it a roadblock? Sounds pretty easy. All I'm doing is selling out. Well, it's pretty hard to do. And you have to understand how to sell out to maximize your return. If you just advertise your patent for sale, nobody is going to buy it. Nobody. Because it doesn't have any value at all. In fact, a patent is not an asset, it's actually a liability. Because the people who buy that patent have to now service that patent and then have no surety that it's ever going to earn money for them. So if you understand this, then you understand that getting out of a project has to be thought of. The best time to plan your exit is actually at the beginning of the project. And that's why most people that own their second or consecutive companies always sell out for a bigger dollar, because when they start a company, they're already targeted who they're going to sell it to. You need to do that in this. But if you haven't done it, you need to start now, but it's not too late. So let's look at the ways of getting out of a project. We're talking about intellectual property that has innovation, that became an invention. You've taken it through, you've done early stage commercialization, you've scaled it up, it's starting to grow, and even though it's not reached its full potential, you want to now recognize some of the value. So that's the perfect time to sell it. Now, chances are when you scaled it, you got in bed with somebody who was probably in the industry and probably has a lot of money, and they could be your target buyer. But what you're looking for is somebody who, first off, you have to decide how you want to sell it. Is this a franchise product? Is this a licensed product? Is this a trade sale product? Is it, are you going to grow it out in different stages? So you open 2 offices north of the town and south of the town, and then you're going to start growing different offices or factories or retail outlets until you're national, statewide, and then national, and then international. That's a very slow way to do it. So a quicker way is to map that out and then sell the concept to somebody who has the money to do it and also has the infrastructure. They may already have offices in those target areas with the customers in those target areas, so they're not going to mind doing this. So if that were the case, you don't have to do it, but you have to map it out so they can calculate how much that's worth. So let's talk about if this is a trade sale. The best way to do a trade sale, and I like trade sales, licensing and trade sales are my favourite. A trade sale, I can get an intrinsic value on the net present worth of future earnings discounted for risk. So I'll work that model, I get it all together, I look at all the pricing is not an issue anymore because you're already starting to trade, so you know what your pricing is, you know what your costs are. So they can project forward your income and your net income based on your sales projections with the discount for risk and the corresponding variable costs and fixed costs associated with it. But now you can creatively, at people already in the industry, preferably public listed companies, and I'll explain why later, who are already in the industry, already have a footprint in the demographic industry as well as a geographic industry, area. So you might have offices in all the countries. Let's say it's a mining product. They have offices or oil and gas. They've got offices in all the oil and gas regions around the world. So you know that selling to them, they're going to immediately hit the product. And so you don't need to keep any tail on this. You can actually sell it and they can get more for it than you could because they already have the customers. So given that, you're now in a situation where you go into them, you show them what the projections are, and you don't ask them for cash, but instead you say to them, if they're a public listed company, I'll do script for script rollover. I'll give you 100% of my shares for 0.0001 cent of your shares, whatever that means, and it puts your value from $5 worth of shares to $5 million worth of shares, or 50 million, whatever your project's worth. So at that point there, you've got a massive upkeep, but you haven't realised it because all you've done is swap shares. So it's only when you start selling shares that you've actually got a capital gain to play with. So you need to get advice on that from an accountant or a solicitor. But I can tell you that you're probably better off holding those shares, maybe even in your super scheme or whatever you've got, as you start to go and build another company and offset with your losses as you build the next one. And that's why people who've done this before target the right companies to sell to in the future, and they almost always make more money the second time around and from then on. So if you're careful, that's why we only take one project forward at a time. If you've worked with me with R&D commercialization, I've always insisted only one project, because even though other projects might have similar markets, I don't want to crowd the trade sale with things that are at a different pace, and that's not quite ready for cash flow. That is, and it's starting to scale, in which case this is going to be a drag, and that's going to be a plus, and that's going to drag that back, and it just gets messy. So what we're trying to do is to keep this project moving. We get the first one through, and then we go back and do the next one, drag it through, and immediately we've already got the customer to buy it, providing it's in the same market demographic, of course. Okay, so that's how you exit a project. Now, if you like the 6 roadblocks, I've got complete descriptions of roadblocks and courses for the 6 roadblocks, and you can buy any one of the roadblocks workarounds and start to make sure that if you're stuck on one of those, you can work your way through and get out of it. So get in contact with me. You can click here and just leave me a note, and I'm sure to answer to you for that, and give you what you need in terms of guidance on the 6 roadblocks and all the others in terms of how to do funding and how to find commercial partners, etc. Okay, thank you. I hope you like the 6 roadblock series.